As the national trial came to a close, the results were immediately made public by the journalists at the scene. Everyone following the national trial knew that this year's national trial was particularly brutal, with only 4 representatives surviving at the end. Moreover, the Dragon Country representative dominated the rankings, taking first place with over 90% of the total points. This was undoubtedly the best performance since the national trial had been established. While the people from Feather Country and Dragon Country were having fun at the Jin family residence in Extremist Country, Jin Zion sat in the main seat of the conference room, his face cold with murderous intent. In front of him was a high-ranking official from Extremist Country, dressed in a suit and tie. He had just reported important news. This news made Jin Zan happy. "Is what you're saying true? The representatives from Dragon Country will clear our Death Desert Ocean dungeon instance in just a few days." The high-ranking official nodded and reported, "Absolutely true. What troubles my elder brother is that there are 4 unrivaled experts lurking around the representative team from Dragon Country. With them around, they are unable to find a chance to make a move." Jin Zan clenched his fist and sneered. "But now, the target is coming straight into our crosshairs. The Divine Bone Forest surrounds the Death Desert Ocean dungeon instance. We've recently started developing it, with 2 of our 3 finest military units currently stationed there. If that kid really goes to clear our Death Desert Ocean, we won't even need my elder brother and the other 4 seniors. Deploying these 2 finest military units will be enough to surround and kill him." Salavan, the finest military units are practically armies. I don't know if they're air or sea, so I left them as units. The high-ranking official was startled and said in surprise, "To have our Extremistis country's 2 ace military units go and kill 1 person. Although he has performed exceptionally well in the national trial, isn't this a bit excessive?" Jin Zion waved his hand and glared at him rebuking. "What do you know? My older brother is even planning to personally act together with the other 5 National Guardians to deal with him. They want to guarantee his death. Just look at his current level. It isn't even high yet. Even so, he could perform so well in the national trial, beating the best of the best. If he's allowed to grow any further, won't our Extremistis country become no different to a province of Dragon Country? For someone like this, using all our manpower to kill him is worth it. Go, right now. Immediately order the God Slayer Legion and God Destroyer Legion stationed in the Divine Bone Forest. I want 30,000 troops to station themselves properly within the Divine Bone Forest." The high-ranking official listened and hesitated, saying, "But, Lord Jin, we've already lost the Divine Bone Forest to them. I heard the God Slayer and God Destroyer Legions are currently awaiting orders, preparing to withdraw from the Divine Bone Forest to continue exploring unexplored areas. If we have these 2 legions stationed in the Divine Bone Forest, we might be crossing the line." "You think I don't know this?" Jin Zion angrily grumbled. The Divine Bone Forest wasn't chosen by Dragon Country or Feather Country, but was taken by Molding Flame Country. They are not a necessary worry. Later, I'll have someone negotiate with their higher-ups to exchange the Divine Bone Forest back to our Extremistis country. This way, the God Slayer and God Destroyer legions can still be stationed near the Divine Bone Forest. When the time comes, we just need to have the 2 legions dress up as heretics, kill him, and be done with it. In the first place, the Divine Bone Forest is on our territory. Destroying evidence will be easy as pie for us. Although doing this will certainly incur Dragon Country's displeasure, being able to eliminate Dragon Country's genius makes everything worthwhile. Charles from Starstrip Country also died at his hands. Once Lu Fan dies, the Moore family from Starstrip Country will surely fully support us. With Starstrip Country backing us, we won't need to fear the pressure from Dragon Country. Jin Zion's calculations were as clear as day, because he knew if they could not kill Lu Fan, his older brother Jin Zexi would certainly kill him to pay for Jin Cheng'en's life. In the afternoon, Lu Fan and the Dragon Country delegation finally boarded their private jet back to Dragon Country. After a night of travel, around 4 in the morning, Lu Fan and the others landed at Dragon Capital Airport. Originally, special vehicles were prepared outside the airport to separately send Elder Han and Lu Fan, Zhao Shengming's groups, back. However, when Lu Fan's group left the airport, they were stunned. Outside Dragon Capital Airport, there were over 10,000 people holding various banners with phrases like "Welcome Home Dragon Country Hero Lu Fan." Seeing Lu Fan come out from the airport, this crowd went wild like obsessed fans. They were shouting the slogans on their banners. Such enthusiasm truly frightened Lu Fan. It almost made him too afraid to walk forward. Lu Fan had not expected that even at 4:04 in the morning, there would still be so many people coming to welcome them at the airport. This treatment was approaching that of top celebrities from his previous world. Lu Fan was extremely embarrassed. He could only wave at the crowd with a shy smile. Even so, such simple actions made the surrounding crowd even more excited, taking out their phones to photograph him. Elder Han, however, seemed to have expected this and did not show much surprise. He had his staff protect Lu Fan all the way to the special vehicles. After everyone got in, several special vehicles drove through the path left by the crowd and departed. Lu Fan thought things would calm down after he returned to Dragon Capital University, but at the university, there were still many students waiting to welcome them inside the campus, especially at the entrance of Villa No. 2, where Lu Fan currently lived. There were over 1,000 students gathered. Their enthusiasm in welcoming Lu Fan was not much less than those at the airport. Lu Fan felt helpless. It was only fortunate that Zhao Shengming, who was accompanying him, immediately called upon the university teachers to maintain order. With their authority, they made these overly enthusiastic students return back to sleep. Zhao Shengming left soon after. However, before leaving, he told Lu Fan that this situation would likely continue for some time. During this period, he might as well not attend classes and just stay in the villa to rest. In a few days, he would be heading to Death Desert Ocean to clear the dungeon instance. After clearing that for 10 days to half a month, by then, most of this attention would have died down. Lu Fan nodded after hearing this and immediately fled back to Villa No. 2. However, upon entering the villa, what greeted his eyes were the smiling faces of his auntie and the other 4 beauties, along with a banner in their hands reading, "Welcome Home Dragon Country Representative Lu Fan." For the next 2 days, following Zhao Shengming's words, Lu Fan basically did not leave the villa. He only did 4 things: eat, sleep, play with his baby dragons, and interact with the beauties. After eating so indulgently for over 2 days, Lu Fan felt like he had gained a few kilograms. Finally, on the 3rd day, Zhao Shengming came to inform Lu Fan that Dragon Country had set up transport arrays at the Death Desert Ocean Dungeon instance entrance. Lu Fan could now go to Dragon Capital University's dungeon hall to head to Death Desert Ocean. Lu Fan was overjoyed. He quickly notified his auntie, Jian Ying, and the others to prepare to go with him to the new dungeon instance to level up and get new equipment. After some preparation, Lu Fan's team, reunited after a long separation, gathered again and headed to the dungeon hall. Because Lu Fan personally owned 10 dungeon instances, Dragon Capital University specially set up a private dungeon instance transport array room for Lu Fan in the dungeon hall. Upon arriving, Lu Fan found 3 transport arrays were already available for use, with 7 more under construction, which were likely to be completed soon. At that time, Lu Fan could freely clear the monsters in these 10 dungeon instances, and his level would surely skyrocket in the future. After finding the transport array to Death Desert Ocean, Lu Fan led everyone inside. After experiencing the feeling of being torn apart, Lu Fan and others arrived at a new map. Behind them was flat ground, but ahead should be a new map. Looking out, it was a dense forest. However, looking carefully, one could discover that what stood in this so-called dense forest were not trees, but bones of unknown monsters. These bones came in all shapes and sizes. The tall ones stuck in the ground were dozens of meters high, while the short ones were about human height. Lu Fan guessed this must be the map called Divine Bone Forest, which reportedly had many level 60 fuff monsters roaming about. It did make for a good spot for leveling up. Just as Lu Fan was looking into the depths of Divine Bone Forest, a familiar voice came from not far away. "Lu Fan, nice to meet you again." Lu Fan looked towards the voice and found a dungeon instance entrance not far from the transport area. In front of the dungeon instance entrance, a camp had been set up with many people busy, including Dragon Country guards and Dragon Capital University staff. Among them, there was an elegant and graceful figure in light armor with a sword at her waist. She was the one waving to Lu Fan from afar. She was Gu Han, Lu Fan's teacher, whom he had not seen for a long time. Lu Fan and the others were delighted to see her here. They went to meet Gu Han at the camp. "Teacher Gu, why are you here?" Lu Fan smiled at the beautiful woman. Gu Han smiled like a blooming flower and said to Lu Fan, "Of course, I'm here to serve you, our Dragon Country great hero!" Since you're coming to clear the Death Desert Ocean dungeon instance, the university has to send some teachers and teaching assistants to be here on standby at all times. We are here to see if you need anything. If you do, we'll help you resolve it, so you can focus on clearing the dungeon instance without worrying about other miscellaneous matters. Lu Fan knew that Dragon Capital University's service for excellent students was always very thorough. Even so, dispatching teachers and teaching assistants to serve the student when they cleared a dungeon instance, was this not too excessive? He truly had not expected to enjoy such service, though he was not one to refuse this kind of treatment. After all, he had originally planned to spend quite some time clearing this dungeon instance. Having Gu Han and the other teachers here to look after things, be it meals or rest, everything would be well taken care of, which was great. Lu Fan thanked Gu Han repeatedly, but Gu Han thought nothing of it. She jokingly said since he was Dragon Country's hero, enjoying some special privileges was only natural. Afterward, Gu Han took Lu Fan and the others on a tour of the area, giving a brief rundown of the place. In total, there were about 40 people stationed here, including 15 teachers and teaching assistants from Dragon Capital University who occupied 5 tents. 1 tent stored supplies, 2 tents were for Gu Han and others to rest in, and 2 more were prepared as resting places for Lu Fan, Jian Ying, and the rest of their group. These tents had particularly exceptional sleeping bags inside. Beyond these, there were 4 more tents for other people to live in. The others were Dragon Country guards, stationed here because Death Desert Ocean now belonged to Dragon Country and was incorporated into Dragon Country's territory. They naturally needed to guard this place to ensure Dragon Country's dungeon instance would not be encroached upon by others. After introducing everything here, Lu Fan was about to lead everyone into the dungeon instance. However, his eyes suddenly narrowed, seeing 2 simple military camps stationed not far away. They were on both sides of the Death Desert Ocean dungeon instance entrance, sandwiching it in between. The camps flew Extremistis Country's flag. Seeing this, Lu Fan asked Gu Han what was going on, why was Extremistis Country soldiers still here and stationed nearby. Gu Han explained, Apparently, Extremistis Country brought back the Divine Bone Forest from Molding Flame Country and regained control of it. So, except for the land around the Death Desert Ocean dungeon instance entrance, the other areas still belong to Extremistis Country. Generally, when a dungeon instance and the land it is on belong to 2 different countries, both countries will station some guards at a certain junction to ensure the other side doesn't violate their rights. I've observed that the other side has only about 100 men or so, which is normal. Lu Fan nodded and did not think too much about it. Although Death Desert Ocean was an important dungeon instance, as long as their country's guards were watching over it, they could basically ensure the other side would not dare to encroach upon what was theirs. After all, Violating another country's territory and rights was a serious crime under international laws. If extremist country was in the wrong, Dragon Country could blame them and make them pay the price. After understanding everything here, Lu Fan was ready to lead everyone into the dungeon instance to start clearing. Guhan escorted Lu Fan's group to the dungeon instance entrance and watched as the 5 of them entered.